few words, kind of give Scotty a nice eulogy, and he's hoping that if anybody else has any stories or has anything to say, he'll get up and speak after him. So, thank you. I don't know, but he better be coming in.
I didn't see him, there's some people. Everybody?
So thank everybody for coming out today and helping us celebrate the life of Scotty Amelon. Scott Amelon, which everybody has never heard him called by Scott, except
Oh yeah, he's seen it.
unless if it was the police or the teachers. Other than that, it's Scotty Amelon. A lot of everybody in here obviously loves Scotty and understands all the special qualities that he had. He was special. He was everybody's special something to different people. You know, when I first saw Scotty, he was about eight or 9 years old. And we grew up around the corner from each other. Our parents, you know, right there in St. Hedwig's Parish. And we had a big family. Most people did have a big family. Scotty and his sister Karen and his mom and dad, Edwin and Doris, lived right there, you know, 500 yards from my house. And Scotty came on with a lot of energy. He was a young, just full of energy kid. And I don't remember as well as my mom does, but she told me, and she's told me many times, that Scotty's mom, Doris, never let him leave the house without, you know, clean pressed clothes and clean socks and underwear and new tennis shoes and nice freshly combed hair. Hair. There's pictures around here. He started with hair. But he was there every day, you know, as neighborhoods went back then. It was every day, you know. There was no time off. Every kid was out there every day trying to mix it up with the rest of the kids in the neighborhood. And so Scotty, he was so anxious that when he ran, he was running on his tippy toes. Thought he was gonna take off and fly or something, you know. I mean, literally. In his younger years, he just probably only wore out the front of his shoes. And some people called him tippy toes and this and that. And he took some slack here and there. But he hung in there. And then right at the end of grade school, you know, the mom, who I can just recall as like the perfect American mom, you know, suddenly passed, you know, at an too early time. And, you know, husband Ed, I don't think ever was the same. He never really was the same after that. He was just a walking around broken heart man. Scotty was a walking around broken heart kid. Confused, mad, sad, angry, sad, you know. And so I went off to St. Mary's, and most of the rest of the, you know, class went off to Cleveland. So there was a couple of years where we hadn't been in contact and that, and then we got back in touch around 1980. And, you know, we had both grown up 5 years since the last time we ran around together. And so, of course, right about that time, you know everything, 20. But we knew that we loved music. Matter of fact, it was right around 1980, 81. I think they call it like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, it's a very overused phrase, but that's really what it was all about. We kind of just drowned all of our grief and sorrows, and anything anybody had to throw in there, we just threw it in there and mixed it up, and ran around for a little while, kind of out of character, and just shedding energy and stuff, and then we did, as I said, you know, there was a lot of free drugs, you know, and for a long time, Scotty was right there. You know, he's not gonna pass it up. But then one day, all of a sudden, you know, I noticed he just like, nope. And that's been 30 years, and it's been nope for the last 30 years. And you could, I could see where, you know, he had defined himself as a character and what he stood for. And whenever, if he set his mind to stand for something or for somebody, you know, I mean, it was good. You had 110%. Also through 1980s, we were both 20-somethings, and, you know, again, rock and roll was prevalent, concerts were fairly cheap, so we really didn't miss one. We went to every single rock and roll concert for probably 10 years. You know, I never took the time to really go past the sound and the music of a song. I was like, it had already taken my mind over just by the instruments. And then all of a sudden, Scotty started explaining lyrics to me. You know, and I'd be like, what'd you say? He said, yeah, that's what he's saying, you know. And I realized how easy he could pull them lyrics out, and the ones that he loved, he lived by sometimes, and he definitely passed them on to me. And so we did a whole lot of concerts. That was about the time when Scotty's dad had just passed, and he was living in the building there where he grew up, had been left to him. And you know, when I say he sat up all night, it's easy to think, well, yeah, you know, doing drugs or doing this and that. But his love of music, he sat up all night, most nights at his kitchen table, with just a little radio on, playing KC95. And most of the time by himself, but well, a lot of times, you know, people would call Scotty and say, hey, you know, is it okay if we come by and hang out for a minute or whatever? And yeah, sure. We always knew most of the time Scotty's gonna be up there and not, you know, me and him and alcohol, you know, we've been dancing for decades. We both come from families where alcohol is prevalent and genetically probably predisposed, and you know, for 10 years or so, we embraced it and loved it, and but as I said, Scotty, he did love alcohol his whole life. He did, but he was a steady behavior. You're an alcoholic most of the time, and you know, lately. I mean, he was okay without it. But he, like I said, he was smart enough to realize that he didn't need anything else, and if there's gonna be anything, it was gonna be that. And most of the time, you know, it wasn't even around. So, but as time went on, Scotty lived with his friend Michelle. And after he left Pulaski, and he actually, you know, babysat her kids when they were in pumpkin seats. He babysat my daughter, and she's 41 years old. He babysat my daughter in a pumpkin seat, and there was not a problem. There was never a problem without thinking he wasn't capable or he wasn't gonna care enough to. No. And all of a sudden you realize that girls, you know, his buddies' girlfriends and wives and stuff are just infatuated with him, and you know, and not in a threatening way, but they love him. You know, women love him, kids love him. He, I don't know, he's probably about, I bet he's got at least 50 to 100,000 hours of babysitting, you know, under his belt. And not one problem with none of those kids, not one issue returned safely, or they were, you know, when parents got home, everything was good. You know, you could trust him with your wallet, your kid, anything. He really, again, didn't have a lot, wasn't ever dealt a lot, wasn't, you know, he wasn't buying the lottery tickets trying to get a lot. He was okay with what he had.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Very,
Pairing.
just a very simple man with a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, and someone you could go to and say, man, I gotta tell you something, and you can never tell nobody. You really didn't even have to say that, but if you did say that, it's right there in his pocket. It never went nowhere. There's nobody in the world that's ever called him a snitch, a thief. Hey, he robbed me. As I said, women, kids, all loved him. And probably a spinoff, because they knew that whoever they were with, that brother loved him. You know, nobody ever said, hey, this is Scotty. Yeah, that's that son of a bitch that got me. No, this is Scotty, you know, my buddy. And I talked to him on Wednesday or so, and he sounded really normal, strong. And called back on Saturday about something, and when he answered the phone, I didn't think it was him. I couldn't believe that it could have went from like that to that in just 2.5, 3 days. It was everything he could do to just get a couple words out. And I didn't feel well after I talked to him, and I told my wife that I've never heard anything like that, and I just didn't feel well about it. And at the same time, you know, Terry's in action trying to get him to the hospital, and you know, everything we do as human beings is it's to be commended and whatever, but the bottom line is, you know, the Lord called him home, and he will be told, you know, good job. And will be united with his mother and father, and a lot of our brothers that have gone already. But at the same time, I can't, this ain't all about sad. I'm gonna snitch on him. I'm gonna give up a couple of his funniest, we call them bloopers. And so, can I tell the wiener dog story?
Sure. Sure.
This guy, maybe I can't. You should tell that one because I don't know his mom.
It's my favorite Scotty story. Scotty was excitedly trying to tell me about a dog that he had seen the day before, a friend's dog, and he was describing it. He said it's one of those long dogs with the little short legs. And I said, oh, a wiener dog. He goes, no, it was a female. With 100% straight face. He did not. I just let it go. I could never, ever correct him. He just was so beautiful and perfect the way he was. That's my favorite.
Yeah, and you know, another one, if anybody's been having a barbecue with Scotty or been at the whatever, it was about 6 in the evening, we had barbecued, and me and Laura and my son and Scotty, we bought a 4-pack of, you know, these real thick burgers, and so everything was 4, one for everybody. We grilled the buns and had them all lined out, and when everything was done, there was 1 hamburger left. And so, you know, we were wondering, you know, my son's not gonna miss the hamburger, and I you know, we're certainly not gonna miss. So she said, Scotty, did you get your burger? Oh yeah. And he says, that was the best burger I've ever ate. Best burger I've ever ate. So he had a nice grilled buns and all the trimmings. And loved it. And to him, it was the best burger he ever ate. You know, there's just nothing. There's nothing more funnier than seeing something like that come out of a person that is just a true heart, that doesn't have a bad bone in his body, hasn't wished harm on anybody. I know personally, it's been 2.5 decades since Scotty's, you know, swore on somebody, or, you know, he doesn't hold anger, he doesn't hold resentment. these days, as I said, you know, once he formed his character and all. But I guess the other one would be just, you know, I had, of course, known Scotty a long time before she met him, and when she finally had, I guess she only seen him once or twice. Didn't really know Scotty yet, and we were trying to get we went Steak and Shake, and for some reason they had closed early. And Scotty, when we picked him up, he was in one of those moods where kind of napping, but would comment every so often, and you know, don't want to comment like he's listening, but you know, and they were closed, you know, so we're like, oh man, that's a bummer. And all of a sudden he says, man, tell him, I got a goddamn carnivorous woman out here. I need to get some food, I need some steak, and, you know. And she just laughed her ass off, you know. But I probably have more, and I probably wanted to say more. But I just want everybody to know that